What's up, traders? My name is Vincent Mokotedi, the founder of Vinboss Signal Factory with over 7 years of proven trading results. I am the only trader who trades publicly with my community. Every single trade, wins and losses included. No hiding, no manipulation, just transparency and real trading results. Furthermore, I would like to tell you that I've already built a Telegram and a WhatsApp community filled with serious traders only. The best part is it's free to join. All you need to do is number 1, register with XNS under our exclusive link. Number 2, verify your trading account. Number 3, fund at least $100. Some traders are funding $1,000 to enjoy higher profits. When you fund, you will get to receive the following that I will mention. Firstly, it will be the weekly Forex forecast of all the major pairs, gold and silver included, daily signals and analysis for London and New York sessions, fundamental news breakdown on major economic events. You will get again a course called Beginner to Pro Ultimate Course for both beginners and struggling traders seeking consistency. Proven strategies tested and verified by myself and other professional traders. One-on-one mentorship where you can request personal attention to deepen your price action and signal understanding. But that's not all. If you are not registered with us or you're not ready to switch over to XNS as of yet, you would still receive daily analysis of 6 pairs only, which includes the euro dollar, the pound and the dollar, the euro Canadian dollar, the pound Canadian dollar, the euro and the pound, and last but not least, the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. You will only receive the London session analysis only. That is a limited access that we give to those who are not with us. So don't miss out on all the full access to premium trading education, signals, and membership. After funding, send proof of registration to WhatsApp 068 060 5332 for instant access to everything. So traders, I would like to mention a thing or two before we get into this. Remember, on yesterday's video, we did mention that we would not be discussing the euro and the dollar as we have already taken profit on it, the pound and the dollar as we have already taken profit on it also. So what we would like to remind you is that today we will be discussing the euro, the Canadian dollar, the pound, the Canadian dollar, the euro and the pound, and last but not least, the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. So with that being said, traders, let's start off with the euro and the Canadian dollar. Remember, we do not discuss these setups that we have already won. You just have to go back to the videos and check them if you did miss them, see how we won, and then hopefully continue with us going into the rest of the week. Why do we not discuss them? Because after a win, you do not want to ruin your edge. Try to wait for this, buy again to the upside, and this keeps on continuing. We only focus on one structure per week and we can maximize profit out of that. We do not want to ruin our edge, so any profit that we did make, it was fantastic. So without wasting further time, traders, this also was a fantastic setup from here, which if you remember yesterday, we did mention that this setup would be 1:4.66 risk to reward ratio setup, and this was also a great signal yesterday that we gave. And we did even mention that if you were not with us with the real account traders community, of course, but even given our weekly forex forecast, you would know that this is a great place to look for buying opportunities, and also this is a great place to look for buying opportunities. So if you were not following our weekly forex forecast, you can just use the same demand zones that we do have, or the supply zones that we do have, on the sell setups that we give out on the weekly basis with the weekly forex forecast. And with that being said, traders, the trade from yesterday went fantastically as expected, and we did mention about, before we reach our target profit right here, we did mention that the pullback would come, and it would be imminent to retest this. And then it did come with a spike, of course, because it was a fast move to the upside. And after this spike, a continuation to the upside to take out structure right here at 1.6274. This was also a great place to take profit at, and we did mention that the setup would be 1:4.66, and we did take profit. So without wasting much time, traders, let's go straight to the pound and the Canadian dollar for this analysis. And traders, with the pound and the Canadian dollar, what we do have is we did the same signal yesterday as this one, as the euro and the Canadian dollar. We did go to the upside, of course, and then after the upside, the pullback came in. Failure to reach our target profit right here at 1.8824 is still a concern for us. Why? Because over a period of 24 hours, the euro has outperformed the pound, as not expected, of course, but it did outperform it. So, with that being said, we also have to strategize with that. Now, yesterday, I know I did not mention any break even on either trades of the pound, the Canadian dollar, and the euro and the Canadian dollar. But what is most imminent for now is you put break even here and continue looking for buying opportunities, of course, at our first demand zone, which is 1.8724, and the second demand zone, which is 1.8703. Both these places are still a good place to look for buying setup to take target right here, or to make that 1:3, or rather the new high from last week. But we of course this week we already have a new high right here, which for that matter it is about 1.8823. This was our target at 1.8823. So if you would, well, if you believe like me that this market would continue to the upside to make more of a continuation to the upside, then you would be looking at to make this week's new high. So without wasting further time, I do expect this market to come down here. That's why we would have to break even, of course. And I did not, honestly, I did not tell even the real account traders community on this one, but for sure I will once we get, before we get to the euro and the pound. So this just simply shows, I remember I told you about correlation, of course, that if the euro is going up against the Canadian dollar, the pound will be going up against the Canadian dollar. And if the euro is going up against the euro, against the dollar, and the pound will be going up against the dollar. So if both are not going up, that means that both the euro and the pound are not equal in strength, meaning that the pound is relatively weaker and the dollar is, and the euro is strength, the euro strength is much more than the pound, which is evident in today's setup right now. So with that being said, let's go straight over to the euro and the pound to see exactly what we are talking about. So traders, with the euro and the pound, what we did have is a change of structure, and I would like us to pay more close attention to what I always refer to as the change of structure. So I did mention that I was expecting to see this come down as a great place to look for a selling opportunity, of course, during yesterday's video, and we did get to this. I was unavailable for this, but some of the traders did take it because they are following the strategy to the pip. I was unavailable at in the market or on my computer or even on my phone. So with that being said, that means I did not take this, but the rest of the traders did take this. So we will mark this as an invalidation after this. To this would be an invalidation to the upside. And with that being said, what we did have is a straight line to the upside to make sure that the market has invalidated this weekly break of structure, of course, right here at 0.8642, 8684. This would be this red line here. It is the weekly break of structure. And with that being said, traders, I do believe that after the break we did have a first retest, and now this is the second retest. And of course I've been looking to buy this. I just put a stop loss right here, and with that stop loss I do believe that the market will now be changing direction to give the strength to the euro, and for a long setup, which will be, the target will be 0.8753, which is right at the daily new high. So I think the buy stop is active right now with the spread and everything. So with that being said, traders, this is what I do want to see. This is the target profit, of course, that we have already set in the euro and the pound. So this trade is 1:10.19, 1:10.19. This is a big trade. So if you do yourself a favor and get into this, this would be a great setup. Make sure that traders, let me show you what I do expect. Of course, this is the first time we entered this trade, of course, and then after the trade, what do I expect to see? The break to the upside and a come to retest this. This is also a great place to look for buying opportunities to the upside, and to make that 1:10.19, or rather anything less if you did not put the buy stop with us in here. So with that being said, traders, this is the euro and the pound for us, and it will be a great and fantastic video if you take this signal to the upside. So I'm no longer looking for any sell setups, just to be clear. Even if the market comes down into these levels, I'm no longer looking for any sell setups. The only setups that I'll be looking for, or that are favorable for me right now, is the buying opportunities. So with that being said, traders, let's go to the last but not least pair, which is the US dollar and the Canadian dollar. And traders, with the US dollar and the Canadian dollar, very similar to what the dollar has been facing this past few weeks, which is a decline. So from Monday we had this decline, and on Tuesday we had this decline. We did not reach the weekly break of structure to retest it, so I did not jump in. Of course, you know me, I always follow the rules to the dot. So if this does not come again even today to retest the weekly break of structure to continue to the downside, I will not be into this. The psychology between me and some of the newbie traders is because some newbie traders will try to jump in the market despite not reaching these levels that we did talk about. They just be like, it's it's not retesting, so I must join the sellers. So I'm not that kind of guy. I follow and respect my rules. I follow and respect my rules. This is the great place that I'd be looking for to sell, to make that 1:3 risk to reward ratio. And one thing that we have to pay close attention to as traders is that we already discussed this with the real account traders community, but I would like to make sure that I highlight the fact that this also is a daily, this also level right here of 1.3722. Yes, 1.3722. This would be this is also a daily break of structure. That means if we do get to these levels, we would be in a situation whereby we will no longer be looking for buys if for a long time, maybe, and from here we will be looking for sells only. So it will be beneficial for us if we do, because it's somehow we are so close to this level of the daily break of structure, of course. And what I would like to see is, let's say it is 1.3734 and 22. It is almost 12 pips difference between the last low and this area that I've marked with a thick red line. This would be also be a great place to look for. This signals a long-term sell in the dollar with this currency pair. So if we do get to that point, or if we rather would come to this before anything else, and then with the interest rate decision today, a continuation to the downside, it will be a fantastic setup. So that is it from me, Vinboss, Signal Factory, and everybody else who's watching. Please make sure you like, you subscribe to these videos. Make sure you do not miss them, as they are clearly important to your knowledge and fundamentals. So without wasting further time, traders, thanks and happy trading.